Hey everyone, Felix from Nintendo Life here, and today we're here to review Tomb Raider 4-6 Remastered for the Nintendo Switch. This review was written by the stupendous Ollie Reynolds for NintendoLife.com and has been adapted into this video by me. It seems like an absurd notion these days, but after Tomb Raider made its debut in 1996, developer Core Design pumped out 6 mainline entries over the next 8 years. You heard that right. It's true that teams were able to turn projects around much more quickly in those days, as evidenced by franchises such as Resident Evil and Final Fantasy, but it was also a clear indication of just how popular Lara Croft had become, and how much publisher Eidos Interactive wanted to milk the series to within an inch of its life. The story goes that Core Design had grown wary of Tomb Raider by the time it commenced work on the 4th entry, The Last Revelation. Though keen to wean off Lara Croft and be done with the series, the team was ordered by Eidos to press on with even more Tomb Raider games. So while one group of the devs reworked scrapped ideas from The Last Revelation to produce Tomb Raider Chronicles, another moved development to the PS2 and began work on The Angel Darkness. It's clear, however, that Core Design's fatigue had ultimately resulted in 2 lackluster experiences. Chronicles, while passable, lacks cohesion and feels like the video game equivalent of a deleted scenes special feature. Meanwhile, The Angel of Darkness is the result of a desperate attempt to inject some life into Tomb Raider, which wound up being a severe overcorrection, buckling under the weight of ambition and mismanagement. It was credited as being the game that almost killed Tomb Raider, and now, thanks to Aspyr, it's back to rear its ugly head on Nintendo Switch in Tomb Raider 4-6 Remastered. This second collection benefits from the same treatment Aspyr lavished upon its previous remastered trilogy. The graphics have been given a significant overhaul across all 3 games, with the option to revert to the original visuals at a press of a button. This time, however, the OG visuals now also come with an optional boost in frame rate, an upgrade that may prove titillating for series veterans, and one that we hope is retroactively added to the first collection. This is particularly welcome since the remastered graphics don't look particularly good at times. We mentioned in our review of 1-3 that the visual overhaul resulted in some scenes looking overly dark, but it's even more egregious here. Yes, the shinier graphics are objectively better than the blocky character models and environments from the PS1 days, but there's something quite charming and ethereal about Core Design's original vision that the remastered release simply can't replicate. Which option you go for is likely dependent on how familiar you are with the original games. Newcomers will probably gravitate toward the remastered visuals, but having the original vision firmly intact with the added benefit of 60 FPS performance is undeniably appealing for those looking to recapture the late 90s nostalgia. This goes for the gameplay too. Little has changed from the first trilogy's remaster, with Aspyr offering the original tank controls alongside a new modernized setup. The latter is functional and can help in certain situations, but the tank controls allow for easier execution of moves like side jump. And much like the visuals, the modern controls are primarily there for newcomers, but we'd probably recommend switching over to the tank setup for a more authentic take on the original games. Looking at the entries themselves, the collection starts off strong with The Last Revelation. Taking place almost entirely within Egypt, it's a role-licking adventure that feels like the quintessential Tomb Raider experience. It gives us the best insight yet to the character of Lara Croft, putting us in the shoes of a younger, less experienced adventurer in the opening segment, before presenting us with some of the most devious puzzles yet as we explore the tombs and ruins of Karnak. Had the series ended here as Core Design originally intended, it would have gone out on a major high note. But alas, Tomb Raider Chronicles follows up with a disjointed look at some of Lara Croft's most dangerous expeditions in what can only be described as a sort of anthology. You start exploring the streets of Rome and face off against literal gladiators in a fun, albeit uninspired, opening adventure. From there, you're infiltrating Russian submarines, facing off against Ghost as a teenage Lara Croft, and sneaking through a New York high-rise in black latex. A blatant nod towards The Matrix, which at the time had been released just 1 year prior. It's a tolerable entry that series fans will enjoy, but Chronicles suffers from the lackluster level design and awful storytelling. And finally, The Angel of Darkness is about as bad as it was in 2003. Despite some minor improvements to the controls and performance, along with some reinstated cut content, this remains the most baffling, misguided entry in the entire series. Swapping out lush tropical locales for the drab, rainy streets of Paris, it adds in an awful new stealth mechanic in which Lara can sneak and poke her head around corners. And not only that, returning abilities feel slow and unresponsive compared to the earlier entries. You've also got more open-ended sections, separated by infuriatingly frequent load screens in which you can approach NPCs and engage in shallow conversations with added dialogue choices, and frankly, the tonal shift is incredibly jarring. Although we'd never claim that the Angel of Darkness is a particularly fun adventure, it's nevertheless a fascinating game to revisit. It is, in essence, a Tomb Raider game made by the studio that no longer wanted to make Tomb Raider games. Its influences included Metal Gear Solid, and even the works of film director David Fincher are plain to see in hindsight, but it's just a shame that none of it resulted in a game worth recommending. This release of Tomb Raider 4-6 Remastered reminded us of Capcom's Mega Man Legacy Collection 2. Both contain games that, at the time of their original release, represented franchises in dire need of a break, and probably shouldn't have been made in the first place. But when played more than 2 decades later, and with more modern conveniences and smoother visuals, it's easier to cast aside our old grievances and appreciate the intention behind their creation. That said, if all you're bothered about is having a good time, then you might be best off either just playing through the last revelation, or just going a step further and sticking to the first remastered trilogy. One final thing to note is that we encountered a couple of instances in which the game would freeze after waking the Switch up from sleep mode. This happened once during a cutscene in which the visuals froze but the audio kept playing, and once during gameplay that ultimately resulted in a full reset of the game. Ensure you make liberal use of manual save function until this particular issue is resolved. So in conclusion, Tomb Raider 4-6 Remastered is an odd release in that only one of the 3 games can be considered a genuine classic. Yet, despite this, it's still a collection we'd tentatively recommend checking out, if only to appreciate how such an iconic video game series was almost completely derailed. The remastered visual upgrades, particularly in the 4th and 5th entries, don't always work, but the addition of 60 FPS performance alongside the retro aesthetics is very welcome indeed. If you're a fan of Tomb Raider or enjoy revisiting flawed curios from days gone by, this might be worth looking into, but this isn't essential like Aspire's previous Tomb Raider collection. We here at Nintendo Life give Tomb Raider 4-6 Remastered for the Nintendo Switch a 6 out of 10. If you enjoyed this review, don't forget to check out our website nintendolife.com, where you can find reviews like these but in written form. And also click that subscribe button so you don't miss future reviews such as these. Stay safe and we'll see you in the next one. Felix from Nintendo Life, out.